Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, I want you to do something for me right now. Look at your hand, or, check your pocket. Maybe glance at the table next to you.
I'm betting there's a little rectangle of glass and metal sitting there.
Always within arm's reach, isn't it?
Always.
It really is. And that little rectangle has, well, pretty much your entire life inside it. I was on the train this morning just looking around, and every single person, head down, just locked into that screen. And it hit me. We don't just use these things. We, inhabit them. There are banks, our maps, our offices, our dating lives.
Oh, it's honestly terrifying when you stop and think about the dependency. Because the second that screen freezes or the battery starts swelling up or, heaven forbid, you get locked out.
Your life just pauses.
It does. Everything just stops.
And that little rectangle turns into a very expensive paperweight, usually at the worst possible moment.
Oh, always. Like when you're trying to pull up a boarding pass or pay for dinner.
Always at the worst moment. Is Murphy's Law of mobile devices. So today, we're doing something a little different. We're not just talking about how to, scroll Instagram more efficiently. We're taking a stack of material from the CompTIA plus Core 1 and Core 2 curriculum, specifically Module 20, and we're going to look under the hood.
Right. We're moving past the user level today. We're going to get into the architecture of mobile security, the actual logic behind troubleshooting, and that whole complex alphabet soup of how companies manage these devices.
Our mission is pretty simple. We want to transform you from a passive user who just sort of prays the phone works into a real troubleshooter who understands the why behind the what.
So you'll know what's happening with security and how to actually revive a dying device.
Exactly.
Let's get into it.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the absolute most basic thing, the first line of defense, the screen lock. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know how to set a PIN, thanks. But the source material really emphasizes that this is the most critical step in the entire security chain. Why is that?
It seems so basic, but think of the screen lock as the physical gatekeeper. The curriculum is very clear on this. Without a lock, everything else we're about to discuss, encryption, app security, sandboxing, it's all just vulnerable.
Because if someone can physically hold your unlocked phone, they have the keys to the castle.
They hold the keys to the entire kingdom.
Yeah.
So it all starts with this balance between, how annoying it is to unlock your phone versus how safe you want your data to be.
Okay, let's break down that hierarchy. At the bottom, you have your standard PINs and passwords.
Right. Numeric or alphanumeric. And obviously, complexity matters. I mean, 1234 is basically the same as leaving your front door wide open.
With a welcome mat out front.
Exactly. But then you move up into biometrics, so fingerprint scanners, Face ID, iris scanning. The source material highlights that this adds a layer of identity-based security.
Meaning it proves that I am actually me.
Precisely. A thief can guess a number. A thief can't, guess your fingerprint. It proves you are you, not just someone who got lucky with a 4-digit code.
But then there's the pattern lock. I feel like I see this a lot, especially on Android devices.
Yeah.
Drawing the little Z shape or whatever on the grid of dots. It feels faster than a pin.
It feels faster, and that's the key word. But here's where it gets really interesting and risky. The experts note that pattern locks are highly susceptible to something called shoulder surfing.
Shoulder surfing, just like it sounds.
Exactly like it sounds. Imagine you're on the subway. If you type a complex password or even a 6-digit PIN, it's hard for someone standing a few feet away to memorize that sequence instantly.
The buttons are small, your thumbs are moving fast.
Right. But a pattern,
it's a shape.
It's a big visual cue.
Yeah.
The human brain is incredibly good at tracking movement and geometry. Someone can watch you draw that Z from across the room and just memorize it in a single glance. It's a gross motion, not a fine motor skill.
That is a really good point. I hadn't thought about the cognitive side of it. So besides the lock itself, what else stops a thief from just sitting there and guessing until they get in?
That's where failed login restrictions come in. You've definitely seen this. You get it wrong 5 times and it says wait 30 seconds, then wait 5 minutes.
And it is so annoying when you're the one who forgot the code.
It is, but that annoyance is actually saving you. It's a mathematical defense against what they call brute force attacks. If the wait time doubles after every failed attempt, cracking a code goes from taking maybe 10 minutes to taking 10 years.
It just makes it not worth a thief's time.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the physical front door. We've locked it. But let's pivot to the invisible security, the software. We're hearing more and more about mobile malware. What are the layers there?
It's definitely a multi-layered approach. You can't just rely on one thing. So first, you have your on-device monitoring. The source material specifically mentions tools like Google Play Protect or Microsoft Defender Mobile.
Are those just virus scanners?
Yeah.
Like the old Norton antivirus I had on my Windows 95 PC?
Sort of, but they're a lot smarter. They aren't just looking for signatures of known viruses. They're continuously monitoring the apps you have installed for suspicious behavior.
Suspicious behavior like what exactly?
Well, let's take a calculator app. A calculator app needs access to your screen, maybe the processor. It does not need access to your contact list or your GPS location or the ability to send encrypted data over the network at 3 in the morning.
Right. If my calculator is texting my contacts, something is very wrong.
Exactly. That's behavioral analysis. Play Protect sees that and says, whoa, hang on, flag this. Then, backing that up, you got the network layer, so firewalls and VPNs.
And what do they do?
They filter the traffic that's leaving your phone.
Yeah.
So even if that malicious calculator gets installed, a good firewall might block it from phoning home to the hacker's server to upload all your data.
And I'm guessing this is where the constant nagging from our phones about system updates comes in.
The nagging is necessary. I know it's annoying, and you don't care about the new emojis. But the source material makes a really big deal about this. Updates are, first and foremost, about patching vulnerabilities.
It's like an arms race, isn't it?
It really is. Hackers find a hole in the code and exploit. The developer then has to fix it and push an update. If you don't install that update, you're just leaving the hole wide open. You're voluntarily keeping a backdoor unlocked.
Okay, I want to touch on encryption before we move on. I feel like that's a buzzword people hear, end-to-end encryption, but they don't really get what it means for the device itself.
So simply put, encryption just scrambles your data so it's unreadable without the key, which is your passcode. The source material highlights a key difference between the big two operating systems here.
iOS and Android.
Right. iOS has used always-on hardware encryption for a long time. It's baked right into the silicon of the chip. Android has caught up, though, specifically with Android 10 and later. They use something called file-based encryption, or FBE.
And why is that a big deal? Why do I need different encryption for different files?
Because it allows for separation. It means your device can boot up to the lock screen, so, alarms can still ring even if you haven't typed your password yet. But more importantly, it separates your work data from your personal data at the file level.
Which is a perfect segue.
It is, into how companies manage all these things.
Yes. Let's talk about that, because for a lot of you listening, your phone isn't just your phone. It's also your office. And that introduces this whole alphabet soup of acronyms that the CompTIA curriculum covers.
It really is an alphabet soup. This all falls under the umbrella of EM Enterprise Mobility Management, which is basically, how does a company manage 1,000 phones without losing their minds?
Okay, let's run through the models quickly. First one, and probably the most common now, BYOD.
Bring your own device. This is what most people are familiar with. It's your personal phone, you bought it, you pay the bill. But the company says, okay, you can put work apps on it, Outlook, Teams, that sort of thing.
Then you have COBO.
Corporate-owned, business only. This is the strictest model. This is the device the FedEx driver hands you to sign for a package. It belongs to the company, and it does one thing.
You cannot install Angry Birds on it.
You cannot check your personal Gmail. It's a tool, not a toy.
Right. And COPE.
Corporate-owned, personally enabled. So this is the middle ground. The company buys you a phone, usually a nice one. They control the security, but they're cool with you using it for personal stuff, too. It saves you from carrying two phones.
And lastly, CYOD.
Choose your own device. This is like a menu. The IT department says, you can have an iPhone 15 or a Galaxy S24. Pick one, we'll buy it, we'll manage it.
Okay, now, regardless of which of those acronyms your company uses, there's usually a big brother element, right? How are they actually enforcing the rules?
That's MDM Mobile Device Management. It's basically a centralized console where the IT admin sits. They can push out what are called profiles. So instead of you manually typing in the office Wi-Fi password and setting up the VPN,
They just send it to your phone.
Yep. The MDM just pushes a profile and boom, you're connected.
That actually sounds pretty convenient.
It is. It removes a lot of the friction. But it is also about control. The MDM enforces policies. It can say, if you want to read company email, you must have a 6-digit PIN. If you take your PIN off, the email app just stops working.
Here is the big question everyone asks, though, and I want you to be honest. If I leave my job or if I lose my phone, can the IT guy just wipe everything? Can he delete the photos of my cat?
This is such a critical point, and it's a vital distinction in the source material. We have to separate a remote wipe from a selective wipe.
Okay, what's the difference?
A remote wipe is the nuclear option, factory reset, everything is gone. You usually do this if a device is stolen to make sure no company data gets out.
Right.
But for BYOD environments, the MDM allows for a selective wipe.
Selective meaning.
It removes only the corporate data. The MDM identifies the container that's holding the work emails, the company apps, the Wi-Fi keys, and it deletes just that. It leaves your personal photos, your texts, and your high score in Candy Crush completely untouched.
Okay, that is a huge relief. So the technology is smart enough to know the difference between work and my cat photos.
Exactly. It's all about containerization, keeping work and play in separate little boxes, even on the same screen.
All right, let's shift gears. We've secured the phone. We've connected it to the office. Now it's broken. It's slow. It's hot. It's just acting weird.
Troubleshooting time, my favorite.
And the classic advice, I mean, it's the joke of the IT industry is, have you tried turning it off and on again? But according to this deep dive, that's actually real advice.
It is scientifically sound advice. Here's the why. Over time, your phone's RAM, its active memory, it gets cluttered. It's like a desk that just keeps getting papers piled on it.
The messy desk analogy. I get it.
Right. And background processes might hang or go into a zombie state. They don't fully crash, but they just sit there eating up resources. A restart forces a complete clear of that volatile memory.
It wipes the desk clean.
Wipes the disk clean. It stops those frozen tasks, reinitializes all the system services like your Bluetooth radio, your Wi-Fi driver. It's step one.
So it's the first step before you start panicking and Googling error code.
Always step one.
Okay, let's say the restart doesn't work. The phone is still super sluggish. What's on the checklist?
You want to look at resource consumption. So check for background apps that are eating up the CPU. And check your storage space is a huge one. If your storage is 99% full, the OS has no room to breathe.
You can't make temporary files.
Right, so everything slows to a crawl. Then, of course, you check for an OS update. Maybe it's a known bug that's already been fixed.
And what about battery issues? I feel like rapid drain is the #1 complaint people have. My phone was at 80% and now it's dead.
It is, and the fix here is detective work. You go into settings, then battery usage. The OS is a snitch. It will tell you exactly which app is the culprit.
And who is usually the suspect?
Sometimes it's just the screen brightness is cranked all the way up, but often it's a rogue app. Maybe a navigation app that kept the GPS running in the background for 6 hours after you already arrived.
Oh yeah, that will do it.
Or an app that's just constantly trying to sync photos over a bad connection.
The source material also mentioned a big hardware warning here for batteries. A physical symptom to look for.
Yes, this is so critical. If your phone is overheating and you see the case warping, or maybe the screen is pushing out from the frame, that's a swollen battery.
The internet calls that a spicy pillow.
The spicy pillow. It's a funny name for something that can actually catch fire. A swollen battery is a chemical reaction that's gone wrong.
Yeah.
You do not troubleshoot that with software. You don't charge it. That needs to be physically replaced, like immediately.
Good to know. Don't press down on the spicy pillow.
Please don't.
Now, sometimes the issue isn't the whole phone. It's just one specific app that keeps crashing. Instagram opens, freezes, closes. The source material outlines a very specific hierarchy of troubleshooting for this.
You don't just nuke the app right away.
Yeah.
You start with the least destructive option. Step 1, force stop. Go into the settings and just kill the process completely. Then try to restart the app.
And if that fails?
Step 2, clear cache.
Okay, what exactly is cache?
Think of it like temporary notes the app makes so it can load faster next time. It'll download profile pictures so it doesn't have to fetch them again and again. Clearing the cache is like dusting the shells. It removes those temp files that might be corrupted. It's very low risk.
If that doesn't work?
Then you escalate to clear data. This is more like burning the furniture. It resets the app to how it looked when you first installed it. You'll have to log in again, re-download all your settings.
Then if that fails?
Then you uninstall and reinstall the whole thing. And if it still crashes after all that, then you have to check permissions.
Permissions.
Yeah. Sometimes an app crashes because it's trying to, say, save a file, but you accidentally denied it storage access. So it hits a digital wall, doesn't know what to do, and just closes.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, there's a term in the outline here. Safe mode? I always associate that with, like, Windows PCs from the 90s. But phones have this too.
They do, and Android specifically makes a big deal of this. Safe mode is a diagnostic environment. When you boot into safe mode, the phone loads only the core system apps and drivers.
So no Instagram, no TikTok, no third-party widgets.
None of it. It's like a clean boot.
Mm.
The logic is to isolate the variable. If your phone is glitching like crazy, you boot into safe mode. If the glitch suddenly stops,
Then you know it's a third-party app causing the problem.
you know with 100% certainty. It's not the phone itself, it's something you installed. But if the glitch continues even in safe mode, then you're looking at an operating system issue, or worse, a hardware failure. It cuts your troubleshooting time in half.
That is incredibly useful. I want to touch on connectivity briefly before we get to the scary stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If my Wi-Fi is just terrible, besides restarting the router, what should I look for on my phone?
Interference is a huge one. We forget that Wi-Fi is just radio waves. Physical barriers like metal in the walls or even your microwave oven can jam the 2.4 gigahertz frequency.
Why that frequency specifically?
It's just a crowded neighborhood, old cordless phones, baby monitors, microwaves. They all live there. If you can, switch over to the 5 gigahertz band on your router. It's faster and way less crowded, though it doesn't travel through walls quite as well.
And is there a quick fix on the phone side to just, reset the connection?
Toggle airplane mode.
So on and off?
Yeah, just flick it on for a few seconds, then off. It completely powers down the cellular, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth radios, and then restarts them fresh. It's like a mini reboot just for your antennas. It forces the phone to forget a bad connection and find a new one.
Okay, we are now entering the final segment of our deep dive, the dark side.
Cue the ominous music.
We're talking about rooting and jailbreaking. Now, for years, internet forums have made this sound really cool. Unlock the full power of your device, stick it to the man.
But the CompTIA curriculum seems to take a very dim view of it.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
To get why, you have to understand a concept called sandboxing.
Okay, explain sandboxing.
Imagine every app on your phone is a kid playing in their own private sandbox.
Mm.
They have their own toys, their own sand. They cannot throw sand into the other kid's box. They can't touch the banking app's shovel.
They're all isolated.
Total isolation. That is how iOS and Android are built.
And rooting just breaks down the walls of the sandboxes.
Rooting on Android, or jailbreaking on iOS, it essentially bulldozes the walls between all the sandboxes. It gives the user and any app they install, root, or administrator access to the entire system.
So that cool customization app you just downloaded now has access to your banking app's data? Potentially, yes. It completely bypasses all the built-in OS restrictions. And the source material lists the consequences very clearly. Exposure to malware, voided warranties, and this is crucial for our corporate listeners, it's a violation of company policy.
How does the company even know?
Remember that MDM we talked about? Most MDM solutions can detect a rooted or jailbroken device instantly. And because a rooted device is a security black hole, the MDM will usually just block it from the network immediately.
So you root your phone, you lose your work email. Simple as that.
Pretty much. And this is related to sideloading.
Right. This is installing apps from somewhere other than the official Google Play Store or Apple App Store.
Usually from an APK file you downloaded on Android.
Why is that so risky? I mean, if I download it from a website, isn't it just the same app?
Not necessarily. This is where you run into the risk of app spoofing or Trojans. A hacker takes a popular game, let's say Minecraft, injects some spyware code into it, and then puts it on a free download site.
So it looks and plays like the real game.
It does, but in the background, it's stealing your credentials.
What are the symptoms? How would I even know if I accidentally downloaded something nasty?
The material lists a few key signs. Unexpected pop-ups, even when you're not in a browser, the phone being really sluggish, unusually high data usage, that means the app is sending stuff out, or, and this is the creepy one, security settings changing on their own.
That is creepy. Security settings changing on their own is a horror movie trope.
It is. It's the whole the call is coming from inside the house moment.
And one last thing they mention is developer mode.
Right, which is meant for testing apps. But if you leave it on, specifically a setting called USB debugging, you're opening a door. If someone can plug a USB cable into your phone, they can potentially bypass certain security checks. The advice is clear. Unless you are actively developing an app, just turn it off.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from a basic PI code to the complex architecture of an MDM wiping a device from halfway across the world.
Yeah, it's a journey from the physical to the digital, really.
If we have to sum this up for someone listening, someone who maybe just wants their phone to be safe and fast, what's the big takeaway?
I think the biggest takeaway is that maintenance is active, not passive. You have to actively update the OS to close those security holes. You have to actively check permissions to make sure your flashlight app doesn't need your location.
Right.
And you have to understand that when a crash happens, there's a logic to fixing it. Force stop, cache, data, reinstall. It's not magic, it's just a process.
And for the folks who are managing devices for a company.
For the pros, it's all about that balance we talked about. Ensuring security through the MDM without overstepping into user privacy. The selective wipe is your absolute best friend there.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought to mull over today. We spend so much time complaining about walled gardens. We hate that Apple or Google control what we can install. We want the freedom to root, to jailbreak, to sideload whatever we want. We demand told to. But this source material makes a really compelling case that true security actually relies on limitations. It relies on sandboxing. It relies on locked doors and restricted permissions.
Huh. That's the paradox, isn't it? The more freedom you try to force onto the operating system, the less secure you actually are.
Exactly. So is the convenience of breaking the rules ever really worth the risk of exposing your entire digital life? Something to think about next time you see a tempting modded app download link.
Definitely. Stay safe out there.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll see you next time.